And the fact that this game was decided not even by a penalty, by a rebound of a penalty.
It works out to a game like every 4.5 days for 9 months straight.
It's like a turd that just won't flush. It keeps coming back. Hello and welcome back to the Villa Filler podcast. I'm here as always with my good friend Dan Wiseman. Dan, Brighton 1, Aston Villa 0. Top 4 isn't secured yet. I mean, knock on wood that we can get that done, mate. But it was I think we should have come to expect this at this time in the season with how the squad is, with the sheer amount of games we've played. But, you know, before we get into all that, mate, how are you doing?
All right, thanks, man. Not too bad. I think, my God, we looked tired yesterday. I think it felt to me at least, that we all watched this game and completely understood the result the other night, which felt so confusing and out of the blue at the time. And then you kind of see the lads walk on that pitch. And honestly, about half an hour, I was like, I think and to be honest with you, Brighton felt a bit like this as well, not just like including Villa here, but if you offered all 22 players the chance to walk up the pitch and take the point, I think they all would have done. And we just looked absolutely knackered. And I kind of watched that game, and it was, in that moment that the result the other night and the chaos of it all and how unexpected it felt, it kind of all pieced together. And this squad, 8 injuries we're looking at now for the first team. Morgan Rogers picks up another yesterday. We almost lost Robin Olsen. We are limping towards that finish line. And, you know, this race to the top 4 may well have gone from who can be the best until the end of the season to who can be the least bad. Kind of thing. Like, I looked at Spurs yesterday and it was like, these two teams, it's like, if you can pick up 1, maybe 2 points, like, down to the end of the season, that genuinely could be enough to secure it. Like, thank God we've got that 7-point buffer, because, we are limping towards that finish line.
Yeah, we are, mate. We are. The bench as well, it's just not ideal, is it? And it's no slight on anyone on that bench, but when you're looking at, usually we've had 2 keepers on the bench, which again isn't ideal, but obviously this week we only had 1 in Gauchi. Then you've got Chambers, Kessler Hayden, Eric Bunham, Kellyman, Duran. These guys realistically aren't going to come on and change the game too much in a game like this, and it is a shame. But now I think more than ever this season, more than ever at all, like, the boys do just genuinely need our support. And it's easy to say that, and then obviously when we're sort of served up what we watched, it's a bit of a different thing. But I think Robin Olsen kind of epitomizes the fight that we sort of need to see, don't we, really? Because he's come in, he's been excellent. Man of the match, arguably. I don't think there was a single player on that pitch that was as influential on the game as Robin was. Made so many saves the penalty. We're just kind of at that time in the season now where we don't want to have to rely on Robin Olsen. We don't want to have to rely on the young lads that I've said, who are just on the bench that I name checked. But with the sort of the state of play right now, we kind of have to put our full trust into everyone, really, don't we? And I think for me, the biggest takeaway from this game, as poor as we were and as much as we weren't in this game, and, we can talk about refereeing decisions again because, scandalous penalties not being given. But, the fact that we are where we are, we're 4th in the league, Spurs obviously lost yesterday as well. And the fact that this game was decided not even by a penalty, by a rebound of a penalty, it was a lot closer than maybe we were sort of led to believe. And I know, you look at the XG, Brighton 2.53, finally Brighton on the right side of the XG war that they never seemed to, it was a long running meme, wasn't it? They were creating so many goals and they just weren't scoring. And, obviously we only create 2 shots as well. You're never going to win a game with 2 shots. But the fact we were in this for so long and it took a rebound from a penalty on the 87th minute for Brighton to sort of snatch this, it isn't the end of the world.
No, and to be honest with you, right, it's kind of in that context that I almost do look at our bench, and it's far from strong, but I do look at someone like Amari Kellerman, for example, and it's like kind of in this game, I'm surprised genuinely that someone like him didn't get any minutes, because it almost felt like whoever had the most running power, whoever had the legs in that game was going to win it. I think Brighton kind of came into it later and later on because they were able to get men forward. They had a little bit more depth off the bench, and Ciso came on and played well. You got Simon Adingra, who was kind of man of the match throughout the game, posed the most problems throughout. And as well as he looks like the only player on the pitch that had a yard of pace, that had that first step, that was able to beat a man. And I know that, this isn't me saying that Amari Kellerman had the potential to come on and win us a game, but it's like you're almost better in that situation, putting on a guy that can guarantee you a lot of legs, can cause problems, can try and find passes in behind, can try and link the midfield and attack, take some of the attacking, emphasis off, someone like Rodgers, who came off injured, Leon Bailey, Diaby, like all of those guys out there look so tired, Guinea as well. Yeah, it is a little bit interesting that we didn't see someone like Amari, and I think it's kind of, the game had almost become a free hit, to be honest with you. I think at best we were kind of hoping for a point as the game went on and on. We know in that situation, given that, Brighton's bench is far from deep, but you look at someone like Ansu Fati, you didn't even get on the pitch for them. They do have more depth than we did in yesterday's game, at least. And yeah, there are guys on there. We know Kane Kisler-Hayden can provide a lot of running power. We've seen Tim get minutes throughout this season. Murray Kellerman has played a little bit throughout the Conference League, right? And it's like, I kind of think that when you get with 10, 15 minutes ago, we'd seen 75 minutes of those boys yesterday, and we knew that we weren't, like, unless we got incredibly fortunate like we did with McGinn's offside goal, we weren't going to get anything from that game yesterday. And I kind of think that if we'd have put some fresh legs on, whichever team was able to kind of take control of that and run at tired legs and try and get men in behind and just like take over the midfield with nothing but energy, to be honest with you, I think there's a greater chance there. So yeah, that's the only thing that I thought was interesting from me, really, and that we perhaps didn't see some of those younger guys that could give us a bit of extra legs. And I don't mean saying we should have chucked all three on, but yeah, so I think Amari is the guy that I look at on the bench. Being 10, 15 minutes from him, we've seen it before in important games throughout the Europa League run. It would have been interesting, but yeah, this Villa squad do look so tired, and it'd be interesting to see exactly what the extent of Morgan Rodgers' injury is. But yeah, it could be one where before the season is out, we could have to call on some of those guys.
It's all quiet really on the Rodgers front, isn't it? Obviously, we're sort of recording this on the bank holiday Monday, the morning of, so not going to get any press conference until he touches down in Piraeus on Wednesday, you would assume. But yeah, it is probably one of the first times you can kind of question the game management from Unai, and it's one of them, obviously hindsight's 2020 moments, but with how this, I think there was a lot of calls before the game to just sort of play the kids in this, and I don't necessarily think you could risk that. Like, even looking at the amount of players that Brighton had out, James Milner, Solly March, Purvis Stupinian, Karim Matoma, Tariq Lamptey, Paul Van Heck, and Ferguson all missing. Obviously, arguably more injuries or, just as many than we have. Brighton was still able to field a fairly decent side though, and I think even if you were to have rested Leon, Musa, and play someone like Kellyman, as you said, or rest McGinn or rest Douglas and put Tim in, I don't think there's any win in that debate, is there? Like, you should have played the kids, because you play the kids, you get battered, and then you have to go to Olympiacos and try and overcome a 2-goal deficit to get yourself back into the tie, not even to win it. It's the psychology of for me at least, like, winning breeds winning, doesn't it? You try and play your strongest team and hope that you can carry that momentum into Thursday, which obviously wasn't really the case. But it was good to see that we had Moreno back on the bench. That's just another option that you can have. I think Cash was probably hoping for a bit of a longer rest than he got, obviously forced forced his hand really with the Rodgers substitution. But we're potentially looking at Thursday, mate, where we've got hopefully Tielemans back, hopefully we've got Emmy back, and things are looking a little bit brighter. And hopefully, obviously, knock on wood, that Morgan Rodgers is fine, because he's become quite an important player for us in the past couple of months, really, hasn't he, mate?
Yeah, those kind of players, and genuinely is at this kind of point in the season where getting two players back, and even in a position like goalkeeper where we're not necessarily, it's not legs that are the problem. It can just and a player like Emi Martinez can kind of galvanise the squad, and that has always said that the Premier League is his main focus. But I think as Villa fans, the only kind of saving grace is that the lads did have one eye on Thursday, and I think you and I kind of spoke about in the preview that this game, I think everybody came out of Thursday night and immediately just wanted to get straight back into Olympiacos and right that wrong. And I think that's the only kind of thing that you do have to hope. And I'm not necessarily saying that I think it is, but that the lads that perhaps didn't expend themselves because they know we have such a season-defining game on Thursday. And at this point, with the way that kind of Spurs look, it is looking more likely than not it will be us to end up in the Champions League. I think you look at that City game, they have to go and take something from that realistically. And yeah, if we can just get a couple of players back, and you kind of hope that maybe there was some of the boys out there were keeping 10, 15, 20% for Thursday night, it does open that possibility up. But it did, if it wasn't a mammoth task before Thursday night, you kind of watched that game yesterday and you realise that even at 100%, it's a huge ask at this point in the season, with the squad looking that flat, that tired. It's just a mountain to climb. It really is. And I think, the best thing you could do as a fan is kind of hope that maybe there was, that little bit of juice left in the tank that we didn't quite put out yesterday, because we did have one eye on Thursday. In his post-match was very quick to shut down any negative comments. We know what he's like with that no excuses mentality, got to keep things positive. And so it's kind of within that culture that you look at maybe just getting a couple of guys back could be absolutely huge for this squad. But I think it brings us back full circle, mate, in that, we've started Tim Iroegbunam at Ajax, let alone, he's capable of playing in games against Brighton. Interesting that someone like him didn't get a start. I would have seen what the levels were like around Bodymore before this game. Interesting that someone like Tim didn't get a shout. It'd be interesting to see whether that is a better approach for Thursday night in all seriousness. Like, John McGinn, I saw a tweet yesterday kind of spelling out the amount of minutes that he's played. I think he's played something like 59 games this season or something stupid, with his contributions to the Scottish national team as well. It works out to a game like every 4.5 days for 9 months straight. That at this point is a half bit John McGinn. Like, how does that stack up to someone like 100% Tim Iroegbunam? Like, what is better for this game? And so these are kind of questions that we've got to be asking now. And if we've had this many injuries, we have to use we have to push right to the extremities of the squad, I think.
Yeah, absolutely, mate. Absolutely. And, just to give Robin Olsen the credit he deserves, mate, got to run through the stats. He made 7 saves, goals prevented 2.29, saves from inside the box 6, saved his penalty, obviously 98% pass accuracy. Have to give him his credit there. That is, really important metric. It's one of the facets of Emmy's game that, I think we do miss, when we don't have him. So, to have such a high, almost near perfect pass completion rate is, it's brilliant. And he kept us in this game. The one-on-one save, sort of looked like he'd learned from the Olympiacos save the other night as well. Manages to sort of kick his foot out, doesn't he? Was it a Dingra that was one-on-one, and Olsen manages to sort of stop it, prevent it from going underneath him like he did the other night. Gotta give him credit. There's one more observation I'd made, actually, mate, just about Villa in general. How many penalties are we giving away? It's happening almost every game now for the past sort of 4, 5, 6 games. And if anything, I think it sort of shows how tired we are, that we're sort of making these silly errors, and that's what they are. The Ezri Konsa foul was, it was a clear penalty, if we're being honest. And usually in that situation, Ezri's excellent at sort of making sure he wins the ball before getting the man, but it was slightly mistimed, slightly sloppy. Obviously, no slight on Ezri, but I just think that sort of epitomises where we're at as the squad is at right now. We're tired. We're making sloppy mistakes, and it's going to happen when we're spread as thinly as we are.
Well, yeah, mate, it's one where, as you rightly say, that it's about mental fatigue as much as kind of physical fatigue and a lapse in concentration. And you kind of Esri's one is a perfect example, and we're kind of seeing players overcommit in certain and it's just we've never really seen them do that before, and I think it is a mental thing. Like Douglas Luiz the other night against Olympiacos, kind of jumping up with his arm up. It's nothing to do like anything physical, but it's just a slip of the mind that we don't often expect from these boys. And you got to look at, I think with someone like Esri, these boys have got European Championships coming up.
Yeah.
Like the road does not end here. Like we've gone on this absolute slog of a season. But for those guys, Ollie, Esri, even someone like Yuri who's coming back from injury, we've got guys that will be playing in that championship. John McGinn is another example. Like this road, this season is far from over. Okay, what John McGinn's European Championships would hopefully look something different to like someone like Ali and Esri. But you imagine if they do end up going to Germany, that you get a couple of weeks and then you're straight back into even more, perhaps even greater physical intensity than anything we're seeing. If you're kind of seeing this at the start of May, and these boys have got to keep going through to the very end of June, it could be. It blows that tournament wide open. But yeah, these kind of individual mistakes at such a crucial time. Recency bias is a huge thing when picking squads and everything like that. So yeah, not just on like in the kind of team circumstances when we look at pushing through into the end of the season, just getting across that finishing line. On an individual basis, when you're looking at European Championship squads and stuff like that, like just keeping it tight till the very end of the season could have a huge impact on who's on the play.
Yeah, it could, mate. It could. They obviously announced the other day that it's moved up from a 23 to 26 man squad as well for the Euros, hasn't it? So that benefits someone like Esri, who we all know should be going, but is probably on the peripherals, if we're being totally honest, knowing how Southgate picks his squads. And even looking at someone like Ollie, it seems like since he's hit that 19 goal mark, the elusive 20th goal to sort of shatter the record, it almost feels like it's not going to come, and I'm sort of willing the ball into the net for him because it was a shame. Haaland obviously comes back from his injury and scores 5 against Wolves to sort of put himself firmly ahead in the Golden Boot race. But for Ollie to even be that close, it's remarkable, and it just shows how good he's been. And it's only a few weeks ago it was sort of a legitimate conversation about him being up for the Player of the Season award, PFAs. So hopefully, I would love for Ollie to break the record, and obviously only a couple of games left now to do that. Liverpool and Palace both going to be really tough games, mate. But we'll take them as they come because that's what we have to do. But before we sort of get on to the Olympiacos game, mate, transfer rumor that just won't go away. It's like a turd that just won't flush. It keeps coming back. It ain't going anywhere. Mario Hermoso of Atletico Madrid. I've lost track of how many podcasts we've done on this rumor, mate, but it's coming from Diario AS, a Spanish outlet, and they're reporting that it's very close that Hermoso is going to become an Aston Villa player, and the deal is very nearly done. And I think there's multiple things that sort of will factor into the decision on both his side and our side. I think league position will. If we get top 4, you would imagine this is an easier signing to make due to the wage demands that he's probably going to have. I'd assume he's on around the 120 grand a week mark at Atletico Madrid. He's proven to be a very versatile, very important player in that squad. Obviously leaving on a free as well inflates the wages. This is a really exciting one because not only can he play centre half, he can play left back, he can play defensive midfielder. He'll play left in a 3. This is the kind of signing we want, and I sort of look at this and it makes me look at how Torres was sort of deployed in pre-season, and I think that the idea that he was potentially going to play not at left back but the sort of left of the 3 when we're sort of in possession, and I see him fitting that role perfectly. even at centre half again. And this is the kind of signing that when you're making that step up to the Champions League, hopefully, knock on wood, you should be making. This is a really shrewd piece of business as well. I think Inter were linked as well. So the fact that we'd be able to sort of take somebody away from a club like Inter is really exciting for where we're potentially going to be at in the summer market, mate, isn't it?
Yeah, I think this signing, for anybody that kind of wants a deeper dive on the player, as you say, there's kind of various videos you can check out on the channel where we go into what he's like as a player. I think he'd come in and be perhaps the most fleet-footed defender that we have. He's obviously very good on the ball, but he's very quick as well. And I think when you view this in the context of the squad, I think it tells you a lot about potentially what I know. You would play on the right-hand side, whereas someone like Clement Lenglet would play on the left. But we know obviously Lenglet is on loan. Would a signing like this be, preferential to paying 25, 30 million, whatever it would be, someone like Clement Lenglet? I think the answer is probably yes, picking up a player for free. And so it kind of maybe sheds a bit of light on what our plans or lack thereof are for Clement Lenglet. Someone like Ezri Konsa as well. This us kind of saying that Ezri's future is being deployed as that kind of auxiliary right back that would allow a left-sided wing back. We've seen us linked with a lot of fullbacks, this for this summer and through the season on both wings. So what is the plan for Ezri Konsa there? And then Tyrone Mings as well. Obviously, we've got kind of coming back from injury. It remains to see when we get him back, what level we get him back at, and kind of before he's 100% and is available to be picked in the squad of playing the team week in, week out. We still haven't really had an insight as to what that kind of timeline looks like. So I think these links, all of the links we've seen really that have been, I don't want to say concrete, but have kind of persisted, have been on that defensive end. We've seen Denzel Dumfries keep cropping back up. We've seen Barry Hermoso keep cropping back up. Someone like Vicuña is kind of faded out now, but particularly through the last three windows, January, the summer, and the January before, you and I were constantly talking about Marcus Vicuña. So It really does see that the defence is an area that we're looking to bolster. And I think when you look at the kind of context of, you assume someone like Callum Chambers is going to leave this season. There have been rumours linking Diego Carlos to AC Milan as well. Yeah. So kind of what his future is interesting. And so I think the most interesting thing about this link, to be honest with you, mate, is what does it mean for the guys that we already have?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it's going to be interesting because I don't think we're actually going to spend a lot of money. We've sort of talked, and God knows how many podcasts about the constant sort of fear mongering, if you want to call it that, of PSR. And obviously there was the news we even spoke about the other day about the spending cap and how much Villa wanted that rebelled against that almost, which is maybe slightly conflicting when you consider the financial situations. I'm not entirely sure, but I think when we look at those sort of problem positions, you want to sort out a defender, you want to sort out a holding midfielder, whilst the absence of Kamara is being felt because he's not going to be back till like late October, I think they're saying, and even then it's going to take him God knows how long to get up to speed. So it'll be interesting to see how we operate. I look at someone like Wilfred Ndidi as well, who's going to be a free agent, sort of gone off the boil over the past few years, but I wonder if somebody like that would be a bit of a shrewd pickup. When you consider obviously the fact he would be a free signing. I can't imagine wages will be astronomical for him. I'm not too sure, obviously, sort of reunite him with Tielemans as well, but it'll be interesting to see how we approach the transfer market, and obviously that all of course depends on where we finish in the league, and potentially what happens with the Conference League as well, and winning silverware and all that, all the factors that contribute to a player looking at a team and going, yeah, they're going places, which I guess leads us nicely on to, the mini preview, mate. This, oh man, I feel sick. I genuinely feel sick. I think the fact, we were feeling so optimistic the other day. I still am, don't get me wrong, but it's, if we talk about next season, right, and the possibility of entering the Champions League, obviously with the new league format, which is going to be something to get used to as well, and it kind of seems like at least my interpretation of the new format of the Champions League and how it has been sort of weighted based on where you come into the competition and the coefficiency points and all that, it seems like it stacks heavily against our favour to advance to the next round. You look at the prospect of going on and winning trophies, and you know, as a Villa fan, we're still probably looking at maybe hoping that we can put together a run in the FA Cup or the Carabao Cup to get that. We're not going to go and win the Champions League. You know, maybe if you drop into the Europa League, there's that possibility as well, or what the Europa League will become. This is the chance to go and win a trophy, and we need at least 3 goals at the moment without conceding to see us through. It seems like it's stacked heavily against us, mate. But I think just, you know, for the reasons I've just outlined, the fact that this is the chance, we have to give it our all. We have to go to Piraeus and we have to win.
We do, mate. We do. They proved themselves to be very wily opponents, and we've seen, you know, this weekend is not necessarily about the defeat or the fact that we lost. It's more the manner of it and how just, you know, we kind of keep talking about just how tired those boys look. And you've got to hope that it is the stage that can really drag us over the line. We have come so close, and yet, I mean, next season is, you know, if we should get into the Champions League, the schedule will just look like mammoth. You know, you play more group stage over an extended period of time. You know, in this new format, you're playing group games until January, and normally you kind of get that window between November, December time, and then when it kickstarts again in February, you won't have that anymore. There's a small gap for a month or so over Christmas when some clubs have winter breaks and stuff like that. You come back in January, and then the knockouts commence again in the kind of February, March, and so the schedule is only kind of going to get more relentless. And it's kind of in that context that, yeah, we mentioned again that Olympiacos have been given the whole week off, whereas Luis Mendelebar will have had 7 days on the training pitch with his team preparing straight for this game. And so he himself is an extremely competent name. You know, this is someone that has multiple kind of managed huge clubs in and around the continent. He's won trophies. He won the Europa League just last season. It's so easy to forget. He was the manager that was, you know, at the helm of Sevilla when they won the Europa League last season. So, you know, he's kind of gone there and done it along with Unai for the same club. And so it's, you know, it's such a kind of difficult prospect of, you know, this isn't kind of some manager of a team that we can easily tactically outwit. And, you know, if we're up against them kind of physically as well, it is such a difficult task. I do still maintain that if we can go there and get it, I think we have to, really. It's not a matter of whether we can. I think we have to get a goal early doors, kind of within the first 20, 25 minutes. And I do believe that opens up the entire tie. I think almost you kind of have to look at this game over the picture of 120 minutes plus a penalty shootout. And I know that kind of contradicts everything I've just said, but with energy. But I think if you can, obviously you can get it done in 90 minutes, amazing. But I think you do have to kind of open up that window to maybe look at, right, okay, if we've only got to take a 2-goal lead to get to extra time, then we do that. And then we can look at pressing for one more in the extra half an hour. But I dare say making it to a penalty shootout. I really do believe that you kind of have to look at it over that length of time. But yeah, we will know, I think, in the first kind of 20, 25 minutes, just what our chances are in this game.
Absolutely, mate. Absolutely. And, you know, you've got to give a shout out to all the Olympiacos fans that watched the last podcast. A lot of you very kind. A lot of you in the sort of comments was sort of saying that this game at home for them will be a lot more difficult for them than it will be for us. So, you know, the fans still have that sort of fear. I think they know they did a job on us and they caught us, you know, when we were sort of lacking, for lack of a better word. And I mean, that Abu Balkabi, what a handful that he was up front, you know, obviously gets himself a hat-trick. I think his physical presence and the fact that we just got a full night out of Diego, it makes total sense to get Diego and get Konsa at right back. Use Kashi as an option later on in the game, maybe, you know, for fresh legs. I think, you know, physically to match these is what will get us back into the game, I think, you know, but we've just got to hope that as you say, mate, the levels are there. it's going to be really tough. But we're backing the boys, mate. We're backing the boys. We're going to get the job done one way or another. Guys, we'd love to know your thoughts in the comment section down below on Brighton, Hermoso, and even the Conference League second leg semi-final. Give us your predictions in the comment section down below. If you're an Olympiacos fan, again, thanks for watching, and best of luck to you, but obviously not too much luck. So yeah, like, comment, subscribe, and up the Villa.